2012-13 financial review of the Ministry of Health be noted. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. I understand the next financial review members wish to debate is the review of the Ministry of Education. The question is that the report of the Education and Science Committee on the 2012-13 financial review of the Ministry of Education be noted. Chris Hipkins.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair. Mr Chair, I'm very pleased to take a call on the financial review of the Ministry of Education. And first of all, I want to begin by addressing my comments to all of those teachers up and down the country who are continuing to experience the poor effects of the NovaPay payroll system. A year and a half after NovaPay was implemented, we still have a system which isn't paying people what they are owed. It is still a system in which school principals and administrators are having to spend hours and hours and hours every pay cycle sorting out problems or finding ways around problems. I think that that's completely unacceptable. The government put Stephen Joyce in charge of NovaPay a year ago to fix it, and he has failed to do so. And instead what we've seen is a gloss of paint slapped over the top of it. Stephen Joyce saying we've dealt with all of the problems and things are getting better. They are not getting better. Schools are still consumed by NovaPay problems, and the government are simply turning a deaf ear to those problems. That's not good enough. It's time for NovaPay to be scrapped so that schools can get on with the job of teaching and learning and not be constantly distracted by having to deal with payroll issues. Teachers work incredibly hard. We value the work of teachers. We value the work of school support staff, and that's everyone from the teacher aides through to cleaners, caretakers, school administrators, librarians. They all work very hard for the benefit of our education system. They deserve to be paid what they are owed. They deserve to be able to rely on the fact that their pay packet will be in their bank account each fortnight. At the moment, they cannot have that reassurance. It is a year and a half now since NovaPay was implemented. It is still not working. That is simply not good enough. And it's time for the government to actually step up and say that if NovaPay cannot deliver, and clearly it can't, it's time to pull the pin on it and put in place a system that works, because this has gone on for long enough. Moving on, I want to talk about a couple of other issues that were raised during the financial review process. And the first is the introduction of partnership schools, because of course more information has become apparent since the partnership schools, since the financial review into Ministry of Education took place. It has now become apparent, for example, that partnership schools are receiving up to 5 times the average funding of state schools, and that is clearly wrong. The government, of course, are trying to load the deck in favour of partnership schools succeeding. But if every other school in the country was given a level of funding equivalent to what's being given to partnership schools, I'm sure they would be doing a lot better as well. This is a government committed to creating a 2-tier education system, and a small minority who will do very well out of it, and the vast bulk of the rest who simply deal with whatever's left over at the end of it. That's not good enough. Our focus has to be on making sure that every school in New Zealand is a great school and every teacher in New Zealand is a great teacher. I don't think we should be creating a 2-tiered teaching profession, and I don't think we should be creating a 2-tiered schooling system. And unfortunately, many of the policies of this government go in exactly that direction. We should be focused on making sure that every child in New Zealand has the opportunity to reach their full potential. And that means we have to recognise the enormous work that are done by the dedicated and committed group of teachers that we have in our classrooms already. I want to say I'm waiting with interest the outcome of the recent announcements around the expert teachers positions. There are sector working groups working on that, and I've made it very clear that we will wait and see what comes out of that working group process, because if there is broad buy-in and support for some of those roles from within the sector, then we will support those as well. I've got real reservations about some of those roles that have been announced, but we will await the outcome of that process before we make any further announcements on that. What is very clear, however, is that the lack of trust that exists within the education system at the moment will be one of the biggest impediments to any change being successful. People simply don't trust that the current government are going to implement this new system in a way that will be respectful of the teaching profession, that will genuinely embrace the nature of a strongly collegial and collaborative teaching profession, that an autonomous teaching profession. People don't trust that the government are actually going to deliver on those things. So while they may think that there are elements of the proposals that they also agree with, they are very, very reluctant to sign up to this package because they simply don't have trust in the current government to deliver on it. And that is true right across the board in education, and that's got to be addressed.
I call Tracy Martin.
Mr. Chair, there are so many issues inside of education funding that it's very difficult to contain oneself.